You awaken to a cold April morning. Your breath rises in pale clouds against the dim light slipping past the cracked wooden shutters. The villa you live in, once a proud Roman home, is now a ghost of its former self. The once whitewashed walls are stained with soot, and the mosaic of Bacchus beneath your feet lies broken and moss-covered. The underfloor heating no longer works. No one remembers how to fix it. You're only 16. But already the comforts of Roman civilization are fading into memory. Your father, once a tax collector fluent in Latin, now trudges behind the family's only ox, dragging a wooden plow through brittle earth. Your mother, who used to wear fine woven tunics, now kneels by a clay hearth, baking coarse bread from barley and rye. The luxuries of Rome are gone. In their place is survival. They say the Saxons have landed again, this time near Dubras. And from the north, the Picts have breached Hadrian's wall. There are no more legions, no more letters from emperors. Rome will not return. You fasten your grandfather's bronze sword around your waist. You've never trained with it. No one ever thought you'd need to. Your mother wraps food and blankets. Your siblings stare wide-eyed. Will we come back? Your little sister asks, clutching her wooden doll. You say nothing. Your father answers grimly, no time to reach the fort. We'll hide in the old storage caves. The caves, once used to store wine and grain, are damp and musty, but hidden beneath overgrown vines. Your family gathers what they can and leaves the villa behind. As you look back one last time, sunlight cuts through the clouds, falling across the crumbling roof tiles and shattered plaster. This was once your home, once part of the greatest empire the world had ever known. Now, it's just another ruin, waiting to be claimed by time. You don't know if you'll ever return. You don't know what comes next. But one thing is certain. The old world is gone, and you, born in the shadows of empires, stand at the threshold of something new. 40 years have passed since your family fled the Roman villa and took shelter in the earth. You are no longer that child. Now you are the grandchild of that boy who once looked back at a burning horizon. Your name is Elfwin. You were born not in a grand stone house, but in a modest timber hut nestled within a small village called Justin Asenna, place that didn't exist before your grandparents helped found it. The Roman world is gone, but pieces remain. Stones from collapsed villas form the foundations of new homes. Old pottery shards are still found in the fields, and Latin words linger in your speech like ghosts from a fading dream. Your world is different, harder, but more stable. Life has found a rhythm again. The village shares its oven, its well, and its fields. You and your neighbors work together because survival depends on it. You knead dough in the early morning, help tend sheep in the afternoon, and carry bread to the elder's house where visitors from the coast have just arrived. The traders bring salt, tin, and news whispers of Saxon kingdoms rising in the east. Names like Angles and Jutes pass from mouth to mouth. Some settlements fight, others trade. A few offer land in exchange for uneasy peace. One name rises above the rest, Artorius. Some call him a warlord. Others speak of him like a legend, a leader of men uniting scattered Britons to push back the tide. Whether he is real or myth, no one is sure. But the hope he brings? That feels real. As you help your aunt unload fresh bread at the communal oven, you think of the stories your grandmother told you, of villas and coins, of Roman baths and forgotten gods. But those stories are distant now, like stars fading at dawn. What you know is the soil beneath your feet, the hands of your neighbors, the feel of wool you've spun yourself. This is your Britain, not Roman, not yet medieval. Something in between, something new, and you are part of it. The sea mists roll in like a whisper from the past. You are no longer Elfwin of Geston. Now you are Cuthbert, a 17-year-old novice living at the remote monastery of Lindisfarne, known to some as the Holy Island. Cut off from the mainland twice a day by the rising tide, you have lived here for 3 years, ever since your family humble shepherds from the hills gave you to the church, hoping for a better life than they could offer. And here, on this sacred rock of wind and salt, your world has narrowed ... and deepened ... you rise before the sun. You grind herbs for medicine. You feed chickens. You copy Latin prayers with slow, aching precision by candlelight, each letter a bridge between the Romang world and this uncertain present. There are fewer than 20 books in the entire monastery, and each is priceless. The church walls are wood and thatch, but the words inside them are stone. Tonight you carry a basket of eggs back to the kitchen when you see them. A group of villagers gathered at the monastery gate. They've come with a sick child wrapped in wool and worry. Brother Ethelwald meets them with a bowed head and gentle voice. He offers prayers, but also honey, willow bark, and knowledge passed down from healers who once studied Roman texts. The sacred and the practical walk hand in hand. Later, you sit with your mentor, Brother Bede, in the scriptorium. He shows you a letter from Canterbury, written in flowing Latin script. The Archbishop wishes to know how you worship, how you live. Tensions grow between the Irish and Roman branches of Christianity. But Bede only smiles and says, "What matters is not the shape of the cross, but the truth it points to." Outside, the sea roars. Inside, the candles flicker. The prayers rise. You chant in Latin, not fully understanding the words, but feeling their weight. You are a link in a long chain of belief and learning, stretching from Rome to Ireland, from the ruins of empire to the slow birth of something new ... and then ... late at night ... A boat arrives. You help carry a woman, feverish and barely breathing, to the infirmary. Her brother, a nobleman from the south, bears a sword bound in peace cords. He speaks of raiders, of warlords, of saints and sickness. And you realize, even here, on this holy island, the world still reaches in with blood and need. You grind herbs. You boil water. You pray. Will she live? The noble asks. Brother Wilfrid answers quietly, "That is in God's hands. But we will do all we can." You fall asleep later on your straw-filled pallet, the wind hissing against the shutters. You dream not of angels or saints, but of a candlelit book open, half-written, and a hand like yours moving slowly across the page. Are not a soldier. You are not a farmer. You are a monk, and you, too, are helping hold the line between darkness and light. The sea is no longer just your lifeline. It is your warning. You are Leofric, the 19-year-old son of a fisherman, born and raised in the coastal village of Dunholm. 3 times in your short life, the horizon has caught fire. The first time, you were 10. The Norse raiders came with dragon-prowed ships and fire-tipped arrows. Your neighbors screamed. The church burned. Your mother hid you in a root cellar and told you to be quiet. No matter what you heard, you still hear it. The second raid came years later. This time, you fled inland in time, clutching what little you could carry. And the third, last summer, was repelled, barely, by your village's militia and a handful of warriors from the local lord's estate. Now, as the sun sets and the wind bites, you stand atop the village watchtower. You scan the sea while your fire sputters in its clay. Brazier. Next to you stands Thelfold, the reeve's daughter, her cloak snapping in the breeze. She's not supposed to be here. But then again, she never listens to what she's supposed to do. There, she whispers, pointing. Your heart leaps, but it's not a Norse ship. Just a torchlight, bobbing along the coastal path. A traveler. Maybe, she sighs. I wanted it to be something. You shake your head. Everyone else prays for peace, but she seems to crave purpose. She's taught herself to read, to shoot a bow, to think beyond the tides and nets and seasons. You understand. Even as fear shapes your life, so does restlessness. Tomorrow is Midsummer, the biggest festival of the year. There will be bonfires, dancing, prayers to both Christ and the old spirits of the land. But everyone knows, too much light could draw danger. Your father, a stoic man hardened by salt and rope, plans to keep watch through the night. The village has built storage cellars underground. Weapons are always near. Horses are saddled just in case word must reach the Lord quickly. But even in fear, you do not stop living. You help your mother mend nets. Your sisters gather herbs. Your neighbors bake bread. Thelfold walks past your boat a little more often now, and you try not to look too pleased. Life continues, not because it is safe, but because it must. That night, you lie on a straw pallet beside your sisters, the door barred, the fire low. Outside, the waves murmur along the shore. Somewhere out there beyond the horizon, the Norse still roam. But so do traders, pilgrims, missionaries, and you wonder, as your eyes grow heavy, whether the world is getting bigger or smaller. You fall asleep with the taste of salt on your lips. The weight of history pressing lightly on your chest, not as fear, but as memory. The mist lifts slowly from the river Thames. You are Edwin, a 30-year-old thane in service to King Aethelstan, grandson of Alfred the Great. You walk the wooden planks that line the waterfront of Londonwick, a town built atop the bones of Roman Londinium. Gone are the ruins and ghosts. Now there are markets. Ships from Francia, the Baltic, and even distant Byzantium unload barrels of wine, bolts of silk, amber, and spices. You oversee toll collection, resolve disputes, enforce the king's peace. The sword at your hip is ceremonial, mostly. These days, people fear the king's writ more than his warriors. That's new. The street beneath your boots is no longer just mud. Gravel and shell form walkways. Drainage ditches keep the filth flowing out, not in. Traders haggle. Craftsmen shape metal and wood with precision your ancestors wouldn't recognize. Children learn their letters in church-run schools. Inside the customs house, a red-faced merchant argues over tariffs. These goods were damaged in transit. Then let us see the pattern in your last 3 shipments, you reply calmly, nodding to your clerk. Written records, precedent, paperwork. It's tedious and revolutionary. At midday, you return to your stone residence, 2 floors, glass windows, painted walls. Your wife, Edith, manages the household with keys at her hip. She was born to a landowning family, but like you, raised to understand the new expectations of nobility, literacy, diplomacy, governance. A messenger waits. The king may visit before midsummer, Edith says, setting down her spindle. Then the guilds must prepare, you answer, already calculating what that will mean. Outside, soldiers drill with standardized weapons and uniforms. Behind them, young boys trace Latin letters into wax tablets, their eyes flicking up to watch. You remember being one of them once, and now you enforce the law of a unified realm. That evening, in your study, you light a beeswax candle and scan reports, harvest yields, coinage tallies, messages from outlying settlements. You pause at one letter from a smith whose ancestors came from Danish lands, now proud to call himself English. Tell the king, he writes, these arm rings were made here in Londonwick. My family fights for him now. This is the world you live in, where former enemies become citizens, where laws replace oaths, where knowledge flows again through pens, through schools, through memory not just spoken, but written. As you lie beside your wife at night, the town outside glows with firelight, lamps burning longer than the sun. The roads are still quiet. The kingdom is still fragile. but it stands. You do not know what future historians will call this age, but to you, it feels not like the end of darkness, but the beginning of light. The fire crackles softly in the hearth outside. The lamps of London Wick flicker in the gathering mist, their glow mirrored in the slow-moving waters of the Thames. You, Edwin, Thane of the King, servant of the law, descendant of farmers, soldiers, monks, and dreamers, prepare for sleep. But your story is not just yours. It is the story of all those who came before you. The boy who once woke in a crumbling Roman villa, sword at his hip, wondering if he'd ever return home. The girl who baked bread in a village born from the rubble of empire. The monk who copied ancient wisdom by candlelight, while storms raged beyond stone walls. The fisherman